And this is about chapter revival. It's not relaunch, it's not upstart, it's just revival. And what we really want to do is, I think you've heard me say this before, and if not, if you're new or if you haven't heard a lot from me before, I want to let you know that chapters with 25 members in them or more have an incredible amount of energy and success. And we have a few chapters in our region that don't have 25 members in them and haven't for the entire time that I've been the executive director. And now I've been the executive director for almost 2.5 years. And it's absolutely time that the DNA team, and that's predominantly Annette, Andrew, and me, do something to support you guys and help you get to that threshold, which is then going to enable you to grow more. I also want to let you know I've invited BNI Inspire to participate in this. Who's BNI Inspire? Well, it is the new group that's forming, hello Sean and hello Brad, in the Hunters Hill area. And what we've done is I've invited them because they're about to enter phase 3 of their chapter growth. They have 20 members right now, and they're going to be at 25 before we launch them as a chapter. And so when we enter phase 3, we're going to actually be going through these topics. So I invited them to come and experience these topics now rather than waiting. Yeah. These are, well, I want to tell you a little bit of a story, if I may. Why is it called diamond growth? And I want to tell you a little bit of a parable. There's the acres of diamonds parable that's been said from stages all over the world, right? It's been talked about. You might not have heard it before. I hadn't. So here's how the story goes. There was a man in Africa, and his name was Ali, and he was a fairly rich man. He owned a lot of land. One day a priest came and talked to him and said, you know, if you would like to be richer, all you have to do is go and find the land in between 2 mountains with a river running through it filled with sand. And in that river, you will find diamonds. The man was excited. He sold his farm. It was paid for completely, and it was free and clear. He left his family, he left his friends, and he started traveling in search of these acres of diamonds. And then he walked the entire continent of Africa looking in search for the acres of diamonds that he could find. Several years later, in a fit of despondency, he threw himself into the river and drowned himself because he'd spent every bit of his life looking for something that he could never find. In the meantime, the guy who bought the farm was walking one day through his land. He looked down at the creek and he sees a rock with a little shimmer to it, a little bit of a glimmer. And he reached down and picked it up and thinks, that's pretty cool. This is a rock, but a bit of spark to it. So he takes it back to the house and he puts it up on his mantle. And one day a priest comes and visits him. And the priest says, what's that on your mantle? And he says, oh, it's just a rock I found in the creek. And the man said, well, no, you've actually a diamond. And the man says, no, it's just a rock. And the priest says, no, I'm telling you, you've probably have one of the largest diamonds that's ever been found. Take me and show me where you found this. And they went down to the creek and they got to digging around in the sand. And all of a sudden, they started pulling diamonds and diamonds and more diamonds. And they come to find that this is supposedly a true story, that this ended up being one of the biggest diamond mines discovered in the entire continent of Africa. The man gave up everything that he had worked for his whole life. He had paid for everything, and he wanted to go and find something new and different. And he never found it, because he didn't take the time to figure out and research what a diamond in the rough looks like. He certainly didn't look down at the land to see if maybe he was already richer than he thought he was. Now, what you have is a diamond in the rough. We're always looking for the next big thing instead of looking right under our own feet. There are diamonds here. We just have to find them and then polish them. And that is BNI. It is a diamond ready for polishing for a lot of us. And when we get to that 25-member chapter, you will see contact spheres begin to work better with each other. You will see referrals begin to flow more freely. You will see more thank you for closed business in your business as a result. And it's really important that that story tells you why we picked the diamond to represent what this growth process is. All right. So that's why diamond growth, because we need to know what they look like, and then we need to polish them up. So this is about the things we already have. What is diamond growth? It's a program that brings about change to get chapters back to their desired state. All chapters launch at 25 or more. Many chapters in the world don't launch until they're at 35 members. And in parts of the world, they're actually holding and waiting until they have 75 members. They want to be a platinum chapter to launch. Why? Because the power teams and the contact spheres that are in those groups work better with the larger numbers. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? When you were attracted to BNI as a platform and as a system, was that what you wanted? And are you getting everything that you needed out of it? We also want to be attractive to new investors, meaning the visitors that come to our chapters. We want to be attractive to them. So we want to demonstrate and show them how well we can do things and be something that people want to be a part of. All right. Education and culture to get the chapter back on track. Now, I want to address that for a second, because some of your chapters, in fact, all of these chapters, all 5 of the chapters that I invited to participate in this, have very good people in them. And also, some of these chapters have very good momentum already, working to get to the 25, but haven't gotten there yet. Haven't gotten out of the red or the yellow in order to be a thriving chapter. And that's what I want to help you do. And the benefit of being in a new chapter, a launch chapter, is that they all get the same story at the same time. But as I look at the people who are here on the call, I see people who have joined recently and haven't gotten the whole story at the same time. So that's why having everybody in your chapter look at what this diamond program has together, you can now start to have different conversations with each other. We want the growth to continue then after that, and it will, because you'll have a more solid foundation to run from. So what makes BNI special? I'd love for you to tell me. You can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. What makes BNI special?
Relationships.
Relationships. That was Andrew's singing voice. What else? What else makes BNI special? There's no wrong answers here. It's a participation.
The breadth of connections you have all over. What I've found lately is Sydney and Australia.
Nice. The breadth of connections. Absolutely. What else?
I think BNI people are trained to have one-on-one, so it's so much easier to build that connection within the BNI network.
Absolutely. The one-to-ones are amazing for that. I love that. Yeah, definitely.
That's a proven system, as Paul's just popped in the chat. Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It teaches you how to network.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go Brad and then Len.
Okay.
Sorry. As a relative newbie, there seems to be some genuine care for each other's business and success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well said. Yeah.
How about you, Len?
Yeah, it's the education on how to build those relationships into a network that you can assist people and they can assist you at the same time, which is the giver's gain attitude, which is which is caring for others, and the care comes back eventually. But giving away first is more important.
Yeah.
And, that's what I've found more, and that's part of the building relationships and the education and how to communicate. And I think that's very important.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to add something? A proven system, like-minded people, relationships? Andrew said that-
Accountability is important, not just to fellow members, but to ourselves as business owners.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The accountability is key. In fact, I was at a session several years ago, and the person who was presenting asked the audience to give all of these answers, and then he kind of narrowed it down to one word, and it is what makes BNI different than other organizations, and it's commitment. We all make the commitment to be good quality members, to come every week, to do the one-to-ones, to do the education, to come with the positive attitude, to be there and build those relationships. And we've made a commitment to do that. And that's what makes it successful. So just wanted to share that with you. That is what BNI makes BNI successful and special. And that's what, when I think about BNI, I think about the commitment that I've made to my fellow chapter members when I'm there. How can I help them come with that commitment? Before we go into the Diamond program specifically, Andrew and I are going to take you through the application, because you all applied to be a member. And this is not a challenge. We're not trying to challenge you. I'm just trying to remind you. We want to remind you, what did you say that you would do on your application? We should have also asked you in the membership committee interview a lot of these questions too. And so the application covers, you know, personal details, investment options, the code of ethics, the application process, the membership qualifiers. Here it's got your references that you've got, and then all of the policies and the guidelines, right? Well, in the actual interview, we asked these questions. And so let's just go through it. I'm gonna ask you to think about your answers to these questions and what you did. So Andrew, let's go back and forth on here, but let's help set the expectations of membership when interviewing an applicant. Keep in mind, this is just a place to start the conversation. These words are directly from the chapter operations manual, and they're supporting the membership committee. So the membership committee can add any questions you feel are pertinent or applicable to your chapter's needs. But question one.
Why
Andrew.
did you decide to apply to BNI, specifically our chapter?
Yeah. So why did you decide? Think about that for yourself. Was it to grow your business? It's probably part of it. What would you say are the strengths you bring to BNI and to our chapter? Have you thought about that for a while? The strengths that you bring to your chapter?
What do you expect to receive from BNI and from our chapter?
Will the meeting start time pose any problems with your schedule? Are you able to stay for the full 90 minutes each week?
BNI has a clearly defined attendance policy. I'd like to review it with you now so that you have a clear understanding of the policy. You are allowed up to 3 absences within a rolling 6-month period. If you have 4 absences during that time, you will be asked to leave the chapter. If you have a substitute, you are not considered absent. A substitute does not have to be from your office or business. They can actually be anyone who is willing to attend the meeting and speak on your behalf at the meeting. Do you have any questions about this attendance policy? Are you willing and able to commit to this?
So everybody who has gone through the actual interview process has answered that question. If you cannot attend a meeting, will you be able to have a substitute present?
Annually, our chapter holds a special event that focuses on increasing referrals for our members. Are you willing to send invitations to people you believe would benefit from an increase in referrals? Certainly mandatory for new forming chapters and chapters that have an upcoming visitors event.
So basically, this is asking, will you invite visitors to a specific event? Right? In reviewing your application, we want to make sure we understand what niche you will be representing in the chapter. What specific products and services do you offer in your industry? Is there an area in which you specialize?
Is a license required to practice your profession in this state or any neighbouring states? If so, what is your license number? Are you adequately insured, if required, for your profession?
And that one, of course, goes to credibility, right? We want to make sure that we're getting good quality. What do you like most about what you do regarding your profession?
Have you ever applied to another BNI chapter? What was your experience if you did?
Do you belong to other networking organizations? What was your experience? Do you understand BNI's policy of not belonging to other hard contact networks?
All new members are required to complete the Member Success Program within the first 60 days of membership on the BNI Business Builder website. Will you be able to do this?
All members participate in our Passport to Success mentor program. Are you willing to dedicate time outside the weekly meeting to conduct one-to-ones with your fellow members as part of this business building activity?
In the next 6 to 12 months, you'll be asked to be in a leadership role. Are you willing to consider which role may be appropriate for you and step into a leadership role when the time comes?
Are you aware that this chapter has additional dues to cover our venue/meal/coffee? This amount is blank per week, per month, per quarter, whatever it is, and is payable to the Secretary Treasurer upon acceptance of your membership application.
You may have noticed on your application that upon your acceptance to BNI, fees are non-refundable without exception. Your application has not been accepted. Is there any part of the application review process that has made you become aware that this organisation be not a good fit for you or your business?
What reservations do you have about membership in BNI?
Do you have any questions for me about BNI or our chapter?
What is your strategy going to be when BNI makes your business more successful? The actual chapter operations manual says too successful, but I don't believe that's good wording, so I've changed it. You guys, these are the questions that the interviewers ask when you become a member. I'd love, by show of hands, and I'm not getting anybody in trouble here, how many of you went through that when you were applying, when you applied? How many people had those questions asked? 3, 4, 5? Yeah, good.
6 maybe.
Good. We want people to we want the membership committee to use these questions and to add any that they need, because I think it's really important that see how open we are with applicants about the commitment required. So we just said that what makes BNI special is commitment, and we preempt that by explaining to people why the BNI system works is the answers to those questions being positive.
Managing people's expectations is vital at this point. That way, when we have the new members come on board, they have a much better understanding of what's expected for them and vice versa.
Yeah. So we also ask them to let the references know that we'll be calling them, and it helps to expedite the application process. Thank you for your time. The membership committee will let you know the status of your application before the next meeting. The status might not be that it's approved or declined. It might be that it's still in process. Yeah. Now, I'm not here to teach you how to do an interview. The reason that we revisited that is so that we could just revisit and reestablish kind of a baseline. Can you still answer all those questions in the affirmative if it's appropriate? And what are your thoughts on your BNI membership and your commitment to it? We'd like to make sure that we've got the right people on the bus. And I think we do. I think we just need to work on the program. And so this is what the Diamond program is, and we're about to start it. So in week 1, which is today, we're going to go through 2 topics. The first one is the chapter environment. The second one is chapter education. Next week, we're going to go through the member experience and the visitor experience. Week 3, we're going to talk about the ask, weekly presentations, which is the presentations you do each and every week in the 30 to 60 seconds that your chapter gives you. The referral process itself, how we actually give and receive referrals from each other. I forgot to change this word, but divisions means power groups, basically. Working within context spheres and power groups in order to grow and develop your referral process. And then what's next? What's next after going through this process? All right, so these are the diamonds. They're all right there in front of us. We pick these up and we polish them up, and we will have very successful chapters. Some people say that the Diamond program is about inviting visitors. It's not. The Diamond program is about making sure that we've got BNI system running well, so that when visitors are there, they're attracted to it, and so that the members who are in the room start to benefit from their BNI membership. All right. So with that, let's go on to topic 1. And we've got 3 simple things we're going to talk about. Wearing the BNI badge, the BNI binder, oh, we took that one out, and setup of the room. So we're going to talk about wearing the BNI badge and setup of the room. And many of you have this right. Andrew, would you like to talk a little bit about this? And then we'd love to get your feedback on this. So Andrew, wearing the badge, why do you do it?
We want to identify to the visitors, especially after all, it is the visitors show, who the members are. So when you rock up as a visitor, you immediately know who those are that are a member of the chapter. They're the ones with the answers. You might even find the person that invited you if they're not standing out the front. But when you go and handshake, that badge is on the right-hand side and people can see immediately who you are. They can read your name from a meter away. They can even get an idea of of your occupation and what you represent in the chapter. But it's part of that, tribe, it's part of that grouping that identifies you.
Yeah. I think we've gotten much better at wearing our BNI badges in our.
Well, it helps with you having a badge machine, I got to say.
Yay, the badge machine. So happy. And yeah, I think that it's just super important. And it's also important that we make sure that visitors have badges. I visited chapters yesterday where the visitors didn't, some of the visitors did, and some of the visitors didn't have badges. And they introduced themselves to me and I forgot their names. I was like, oh, I've forgotten his name. And I know I was just introduced to him. And right now I remember his name. It's Ben, because I had to ask him twice what his name was. And it was Ben. And Ben's one of my best friends. So I'm like, Ben, I'm not going to forget that. But it's so important that the visitors have them as well. And that it's really clear and obvious what their name is. And it just needs to be legible first name so that we can see them. So the visitor host, it's really important that they have them. The BNI badges, some chapters collect the badges each day and put them out. I know that. Others require you to take them home and bring them back and take them home and bring them back. I always had the same bag. When I was a member, I always took the same bag to BNI. It had my notebook that I was going to use for BNI in it. It had my business cards in it. It had my badge in it. I never forgot my badge because I always took that bag to BNI. So find a way to make sure that you've always got your badge. And if you need a new badge, let me know. I'll be very happy to get you a new badge. All right. I've even taken off the price tag for now until I get taken advantage of too much, because my $1,000 machine, my $1,000 machine, $1,200. Anyway,
you should sell them for $20 each to the other chapters.
I could do, but anyway, it's really worth it to have that machine because I think it's really important. All right, so yeah, and Brad, you did speaking about that BNI portfolio that we gave you when you first started, we're going to send a survey out about the welcome pack and whether or not it's helpful for you. I really think that you should think about pulling out that compendium that we provided and saying, okay, that's where my badge lives. That's where my business cards live. That's where my notes live for my one-to-ones. And that's, make sure that you are using it so that it's valuable to you. All right. Now the room setup. The room setup is really important as well. And it doesn't start with even this desk here. This is the registration desk that people go to. All right. And at the registration desk, that's where you get your name tags. That's where you make sure that people have maybe the handouts that you might want to give to them. This one has a welcome pack on it. We don't need that, but you might have a trophy. If one of your members has a trophy, or if your chapter's got a trophy, you might put that there. You might put your business cards on here. I know that some of the chapters have bought some tablecloths that actually have areas for each of the members' business cards to be there. That could be done. You certainly don't need balloons, but if you've got them, get them, bring them in. You might as well. But also notice that there are banners around so that it looks like a BNI event. There are other places before people even get to registration where you might need more BNI branding. And that might be outside the front door so that people know that that's the door to go to. I know that, for example, when we go to some of the golf clubs, there might be two doors, one for the golf club and one for the entryway that you want people to go into. So knowing which door to go in would make someone feel good. Having them pull into the driveway or the parking lot and being able to see that, oh, that's BNI, I can see it from there, and knowing that it's there. What's the visitor experience going to be with the way that the room is set up? I love what Surfside has just recently done, and I think that Beaches is using the tablecloths as well. That you realize that the room needed to look a little bit more spruiked up than a surf club, and so adding that element of tablecloths on the tables. Here they are. There. See the tablecloths that are on these tables. If the venue won't provide them, perhaps the chapter should, and keep those folded nicely and put a little bit of money in the budget that the treasurer collects. Put a little bit of money in the budget to make sure that you can get them laundered every now and then, and that you can replace them if they're not right. If you're lucky enough to be at a venue that already has them, realize that's part of what you're paying for. Yeah, that's why the breakfast might not be $15 for the food. It's also all of the rest that you get with that. Notice that in this room, it's quite a small chapter kind of being represented, but they've got banners up that make it look very BNI like. And they've got a little sash there across the front where the top table sits. Maybe you'd want to do that. But what do you want your room to look like, and how can you make it look like a BNI meeting so that the visitors there realize where they're at? This is about the visitor experience. Does anybody have any questions or anything to add, or thoughts about stuff that you've added recently at your chapter that have made a difference to the visitor experience? Has anybody added a sandwich board out the front or done something different?
The venue, how we greet people at the venue is vital. And I think, observing the fact that Pittwater Professionals had a new venue from February, the change in energy, the change in everything about that chapter since then has really made a difference. Alison, how do you find Pittwater's Yacht Club venue as a venue? You know, when you arrive there, how do you feel?
Oh, it's magnificent. You know, the sunrise, the yachts, and the staff. So we are really lucky that we have lovely staff that bring us coffees as soon as we come in.
You work as a team. You work with the venue as a team, and the venue sets it up, sets the layout up for you. But you, as visitor host, go one step further. You put the member placards on the table so that each member knows where they're sitting, and they're targeted to be with their visitors as well. So with the teepees and with all these individual components, it creates that inviting environment.
Yeah, and Sean is always there to, you know, greet them and make sure that they sign in and grab a cup of coffee.
I decided Sean doesn't sleep. He just rocks around. Yeah. Len does the same. It's quite crazy. They're just there.
I love the way that BNI Business Express sets up their reception right at the front when people
Yes.
walk into the Roseville
golf
Golf
club.
Club.
Yep.
They know immediately that they're at a BNI meeting, not at a golf club. And
And
they're greeted really nicely by a professional group, and also there are members hanging around to talk and greet people and bring them into the coffee area. So
Yep.
it's a really nicely flowing visitor experience when people approach that. And there's no backs to the table. So whereas yesterday, and I'm just going to say what I see, there isn't a reception table at Surfside. When I walked up the stairs, there were people all milling about and talking, but there wasn't a reception area where I could land as a visitor.
There was originally, Wendy, but they'd already moved upstairs. We do have them down there.
Actually, okay, I lied then. There were people downstairs and they didn't probably treat me like a normal visitor. So knowing
Most
what
likely.
those people would say to someone would matter. I loved that actually though, Annette. There were 3 people downstairs actually when I walked in the door. And that was wonderful because downstairs doesn't look like BNI. So having people right there that are able to guide you up and say, you're in the right place. All right.
BizMasters, just one other to talk through. BizMasters, you park 50 meters away from the door, but when you get out of your car and start walking towards the door, which is on the little map you get from the visitor team, you see the pull-up banner. You then wander in the door and you look one way or the other, and then you see a whopping great big sandwich board that says BNI this way with a whopping great big arrow. So you're sort of escorted remotely through one door to the other door to the other door, and then you've got the welcoming team.
Yeah.
So you are almost carried virtually from the time you step out of your car.
So what we want you to do with your chapter's room setup is simply think of it from a visitor's perspective and think of it from, are you putting your best foot forward as a team and showing your members and your visitors what a professional organization you are? Are you showing and putting your best foot forward? That's it. Want to make sure that you're there when they arrive. And that's an important part of the room setup, is making sure that the members are there when they arrive. So make sure that you're really clear with your entire chapter. When do visitor hosts arrive? When do members arrive? When are visitors arriving? When does open networking finish? When does open networking start? Usually you ask for the members to be there before open networking starts. Before open networking starts, so that everybody's there when it starts. And that way, that 15 minutes of open networking before the meeting is a full room. That's not additional time to arrive. That's actually part of the agenda. And it's part of having the room set up properly, is having people in it. Okay? Anything else to add, anybody, about the badges and making sure that you look like a member, and then now making sure that the room looks like a chapter, like a BNI chapter? All good for this? Topic 1, can you take some things back to your chapter with this? Have you thought about one thing that you could change, one thing you could do better, one thing you could make happen? If you're perfect already, then don't change anything. But if you could improve one thing, do it. The next topic that we have is chapter education. And what I'd like to do is, I'd really like to make sure that you realize that continuous professional development is something that we all probably do in some form or fashion in our businesses. Len is a massage therapist. I'm sure that Len goes and studies new techniques and new things and new ways of doing stuff. Am I right, Len? Is that a yes? I can't hear you, but. Oh, no, it's not working.
Hate that.
I hate it too. Sorry.
I'm back on.
There you are.
Yep. Yeah, I do CPUs, and I'm required to do at least 40 each year.
Yeah.
I do about 60 because I love
wow.
learning new ways to hurt people.
You always say that. You always say that.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm nice to people, I mean.
I love it. Emma, as a business coach, do you work on continuous professional development?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm looking around the room. I'm thinking about Brian with all of the regulations and things that change in the building community. I mean, every year I'm sure that there's new things that happen. Am I right, Brian?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you have to keep up with it. We do probably 6 courses a year, and they range from 4 hours to 2-3 days.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And I think about Lucienne and Finlay, both in the law world. I mean, you for sure would need to do continuous professional development. Am I right?
Yeah,
Finlay?
we're required to do a certain amount, but also on top of that, if we aren't on top of the different changes within the law, then it can be pretty dangerous when you're giving advice to a client. So
100%. And I'm just looking around the room and thinking about Ed and thinking about Justin and thinking about all of you. We all need to do continuous professional development, right? Well, I guess I know you do continuous professional development in your business, some because you're required to and some because you appreciate lifelong learning. But here's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you about referral marketing. You've bought into BNI as a process. You've said, listen, I can see that this works. I've gone to a meeting. I've seen all of the business flow with it around the room. How can I make this work? If you could invest time in making sure that you get better and better and better at referral marketing, wouldn't you want to do it? What if you could get more efficient by taking a few more courses, by listening to a few more lessons, by hearing the stories of a few other people, and or by delivering a really great leadership role? We have some of the training that you do within BNI is for your leadership roles. And that might be 4 hours of training you might take. You might, in order to be on the membership committee, I think it's about 8 hours of training. All up. I think it's about 8 hours of training. But by being on the membership committee, you have an incredible insight into the way BNI works, better than most. And you also have an ability to shape the culture of the chapter. So you can actually develop and move the chapter in great ways. So it's a really fantastic position to be in. Wouldn't you want, as a member, as a new member, to know that the membership committee actually was trained in doing what they're doing? I have to share with you a story. I participated very briefly as a member of the committee of a chamber. And that business chamber does not have anything documented. Honestly, they don't have, how do they run meetings? They don't know. How do they follow up with visitors to become members? They don't know. Allison's laughing. It's hilarious. They have no idea that they're juggling, but they can't even juggle. It's crazy. And I'm so grateful for BNI. So grateful that every single role that we have is documented, tested, 38 years of experience, trained. It's all available for us. So I love that system. And so part of that is the leadership training. Let me also share with you with regard to education. Think about your BNI Connect profile and what does it look like? Now I'm going to leave this blank slide up for a minute and let you think about a member in Germany who has a sister who lives in Sydney and needs an electrician. And so the member in Germany looks up Sydney-based electricians. What they see is going to attract them or detract them. They know that they're getting a BNI member no matter what. They know because they're only looking in BNI Connect. But who are they going to pick? They're going to pick the person who has filled out and thought about their BNI profile. They're not going to pick this person, right? They don't have a picture. They don't have their information filled out. They're not going to pick that person. This is mine. I've got a picture. I've completed MSP. I happen to do a lot because I'm in all of these different areas because I'm an ED, but as an executive director, I've got a lot of names there, but all of this could look exactly like yours. It talks about what my business is, what the keywords are that people could look for in BNI Connect to find me. What company I'm in and the company logo, all of these things. It scrolls down. It's got my gains on it. It's got my goals, my accomplishments, my interests, my networks, my skills. It's all there. It's got my top stories. These are stories that I can tell about clients that I might give if I were to give a referral request. Have you taken the time to go and fill your profile out completely? Because it's part of your education for your fellow members. And it's a really important thing for people to see. What does it look like on BNI Connect on the phone? Well, here's one that's blank. And here's one that's full. Again, if you're doing a search online, what would you find? All right. Please make sure that you can find everybody and that people can find you, because there are 300,000 members. And there are members in Germany who have sisters in Sydney who need electricians. They are. And their sisters might need a massage therapist or a bookkeeper or a business coach or a financial planner. In fact, I had someone from South Africa ask me for a financial planner the other day. Their son has moved to Sydney and is interested in working with a financial planner. So this happens all the time. And I only like to share the contacts of people who have filled in contact profiles. So I always look for that too. All right, so I just wanted to give you that insight. So important that you go in and work on that. Now there are
Say something on that, Wendy.
I would hope you would, Wed.
Oh, the other day I was looking for a member in another chapter to give him a referral, and couldn't find him on Connect at all because he must have been on private or something. And so he didn't get my referral, and I just moved on, found someone in another chapter. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's a great education topic in your chapters, actually.
Yeah, it is a great education topic. It's so important that when you go into your profile online, not on your BNI Connect on your mobile, online, make sure that you've said that things can be seen publicly. And also on your phone, make sure that you've made things available to all, not just all connections. If it says my connections, then only the people who you've physically gone in and connected with and your chapter can see you. Whereas we actually have a very robust region that shares a lot. I mean, Ed's an electrician. He actually gives referrals to electricians. So he was probably looking for a Sparky and wanted to give a Sparky a job. So anyway, very good story, Ed, and good for all of us to remember. All right. There are 6 key training opportunities within BNI. There are thousands of training modules, but the 6 key ones are, first of all, we start with the mentor coordinator and the passport introductions. That's the very first thing someone finds. They may have gone to BNI Discovery, and that gives them an overview of what BNI is and why it works. But as a member, their first opportunity to get training is their first meeting, when they should have a sit-down meeting for at least 15 minutes. If it's not a one-to-one, it's at least 15 minutes with the mentor coordinator, where the mentor coordinator can go through the passport with them and explain it to them, share with them what it is, and help them figure out the priority for which order to go in. Because the first person they should meet with is probably the passport person responsible for systems, so that we can get them set up on BNI Connect on their phone, and we can get them set up with BNI Connect, BNI Business Builder on their phone. Yeah.
Point 2 there, Wendy, we will know that the new member is in the system when the new member gets emailed their credentials to log into Connect. That's the trigger point. Next meeting, sit down together and go forward.
Yeah. So the mentor coordinator in your chapters should really make sure that they're aware, like when the membership committee approves someone, they should be informing the mentor coordinator, and somebody should be reaching out to the new member and making sure that they know, come, we'll get you set up with your payments, you know, whatever you're doing, make sure that they know that. And on your first day, the mentor coordinator is going to be with you for about 15 minutes after the meeting. That'd be a really smart communication plan for you when you have a new person. Make them feel special. Yeah. You don't need to have the welcome pack in your hot little hands to welcome someone nicely. You can welcome them, and then you can make them feel special another day with the welcome pack. Yeah. All right. The second one is the Member Success Program. I would like to encourage you not to call it MSP when they're new. They don't know what MSP is. Call it the Member Success Program, because that's what it is. And notice it's not the new Member Success Program. It's the Member Success Program. We recommend, and this is official, this isn't Andrew and Wendy and Ed. This is BNI recommends that you retake the Member Success Program every 2 to 3 years. So for those of you who are in the 5 chapters that we've invited to be in this room right now, for the seasoned members of BNI, we highly recommend that you retake the MSP program. Go back in and take all 8 modules. We're going to show you what those modules are. National trainings. The national trainings that we have are incredible, and they're available for free on Zoom, most of them. Some of them are in person. If you go to, for example, our conference, you're going to get some great presentations and training in cans. But national trainings are usually more accessible than that, because they're right here on Zoom. And you can get your CEU points with a topic that you're interested in. Go for a topic that you're interested in. There are also referrals, one-to-ones, and power teams training, which is really, really important to know more about. But did you know that in your one-to-ones, you're also getting training and doing training? When I have a one-to-one with Brad, which I haven't done yet, and Brad and I are having a one-to-one, he's going to train me on his business, and I'm going to train him on mine. You're actually training each other. You're not selling to each other. You're training each other in who you want to sell to, who you want to meet, how I can recognize them, what the best way is for me to refer them to you. These are the kinds of things that we teach in detail in these workshops for referrals, one-to-ones, and power teams. And we just did the power team workshop. How many of you got to go to the power team workshop that we did? Alex went to that one. Justin did. Emma, Brad, Allison. So enlightening to see how much control we have over our success in BNI when we control the people who are in our chapters by inviting the right people and filling our contact spheres and then creating successful power teams. Yeah. So that's training that you can do and continue. I already mentioned earlier leadership team training, but I would like to emphasize the word team. So Finlay, I'm going to make something up now. It's probably not right, but let's just make it up. Let's say you're a visitor host, and you told me today that you aren't yet, but let's just say you are. You're a visitor host, and it's October, and you've been through your training as a visitor host in October, and you've met with your team, and you've put together a plan, and you know what's going to happen. Look at Emma. She's trying to get you already, pulling you in. So let's just say you're that. And then in March, you're asked to be a visitor host again, and there's a few new people on the visitor host team. Wouldn't it be neat to retake the training with the team? It counts as your CEUs, and you're going to learn something different anyway. In other words, retaking leadership team training is not a bad idea. You might not need to do it in 6 months, but doing things as a team is really powerful. So you might say, listen, we're going to be a membership committee. Let's all go and do that workshop together. That way we can know what all of us know and do things as a group. So think about the word team there. And last but not least, we have the advanced member trainings, which do go into even more detail, and those are available again on Zoom. I'm also very happy to conduct regional training for all of these, just like you've seen me do with the Power Team one. Happy to do it for your chapter if you ask me to. And I know that Annette and Andrew and I we've done all of these trainings ourselves multiple times. I'm retaking director consultant training right now. How to be a good director consultant. Do I need to? Do I need the points? Do I need the CEUs? No. But do I need to be a good director consultant to Ocean View and Presidential and Business Express and I'm getting it. It's coming. United. I need to be a good director consultant for those groups. Member Success Program, Business Builder. All you need to do is know how to log in. And so many of our new members just don't know how. And they don't know how to find it on their phone, and they lose their login. There's this amazing thing called Forgot Your Password. Use it. And
Wendy, if I may, the thing to remember here, guys, is with a new member, sometimes they'll give an incorrect email address or not their preferred email address on the application. So what we need to make sure is if they click on Forgot Password, that they use the email address that was on their application. Otherwise, it won't work.
But I bet there are people watching this call right now or watching the replay who don't have Business Builder on their phone. And maybe you don't need it. In that case, don't download it. It's okay. But you should know that it's available on your phone, and you can actually do your training while you're waiting for this train or while you're waiting for an appointment and get things done while you're on the go, rather than having to always be sitting at your desk doing it. All right. So being aware of that is really important. This is the one on your computer. This is the one on this is the one on your phone. This is the one on your computer. And all you need to do is type Member Success Program, and voila, you're going to have the training program available for you. See how this all is there? If you need a training program, just use the drop down and pick training programs. But if you search for MSP, you'll still find it. I would like to highly recommend that if you have not done MSP in the last 3 years, that you make the time and take the program. All right. The first course is about creating and tracking your goals in BNI. The second course is on networking at meetings. The third is about cultivating visitors. The fourth is about visibility and how important it is. The fifth is about referral generation. So if you have had trouble generating referrals, it will help you to take that again. Your weekly presentation, how to educate your fellow members in what you do. Performing one-to-ones. I don't think we do one-to-ones well enough most of the time. I think they are mostly coffee catch-ups. I think it's really important to make sure that we think about the efficiency of running a business meeting over a one-to-one rather than simply getting together. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think one-to-ones are proper meetings? I'd love to hear.
I don't think mine have been. They're more coffee catch-ups, but I think probably some of that has to do with it being the first one-to-one with someone, so we're kind of getting to know each other a bit, being a new member, but possibly the second one-to-one, maybe from then onwards, would be more meeting-like.
Absolutely. Well,
You're
the
on something
gains
there.
is really good feedback, and gains, the goals, the accomplishments, the interests, the networks, the skills that you have, sharing those during that first meeting or two is really important. And so, yeah, I agree with that. But even a coffee catch up can have some structure to it. And we don't want to waste your time. We don't want you to spend an hour of your billable hours having a coffee catch up that doesn't get an outcome to it. So do you know more about that person, and are you better able to position them or better able to even chat with them? You know, I've had one-to-one meetings with, I mentioned this the other day in no, not BizMasters, in Inspire. I've had a one-to-one with Baron. Baron is the financial planner in BNI Inspire in Hunters Hill. And he and I have now had 2 one-to-ones with each other, one in a cafe, and one of them at my house. And we now can talk to each other very differently, even at a meeting. When we say hello to each other, there's a difference in the way that we meet with each other. I highly recommend that you make sure that you're meeting at least with the gains exchange at the beginning. And then, yeah, Finlay, it gets more and more exciting as you go. And then there's the leadership roles overview, an overview of every single position, not in order to do it, but in order to understand it and know that it takes a lot of people to run a BNI chapter well. Yeah. And you probably give people more credit when you understand what they do. And you know, we stand up every week with the slide that says who does what, and everybody gets to stand up and say, this is what I do. That's why that leadership roles overview is really important. It's also important because you might volunteer to do one of those roles. You might say, listen, I'd be interested in being the president one day, or I'd love to be a visitor host, or I'd like to do something. How will you get involved? We'd love to put you on that pathway, but we don't only look for volunteers. You notice that it said on the application form that you may be asked to do a role in the next 12 months. And that's because chapters run themselves. Lucienne is a very, very busy person, a very successful lawyer with a lot of clients, a huge referral base, a family, things that are important to her. And she's the president of her chapter. She's volunteering to help lead the chapter in a good, successful meeting and making sure that everybody's there. Everybody's busy, but everybody in a BNI group contributes. And thank you for your service, Lucian, by the way. All right, so that's the MSP program, and we really do want to make sure that everybody has done that. Andrew, we talked about this slide, and I'm just going to pop all of the bits up there. But these are all the different weekly educations that the education coordinator might do. Would you like to talk about this one a little bit for us?
Gladly. It's very easy for our education coordinators to head off on a business training path, but that's fine to a degree. But the weekly education 8 items here are very much what all new members, younger members, members who have forgotten, really want to come back and hear some basic or some core education moments. A lot of this is a reminder of what people would have gone through in their member success program. Some of it would be also referring back to their actual interview. But these are the 8 items that if we can schedule 1 or 2 of these a month, even in a revolving pattern, our overall level of education through the chapter for all the members is massive. I mean, everybody here understands we're meant to be here every week, but as part of that attendance, that's also got subs and absenteeism policy as well. We were just talking about one-to-one qualities. Everybody at one point or another struggles with bringing a visitor. It's one thing to invite, it's another thing to actually have them in the room. How to ask referral requests, giving referrals, thank you for closed business, member traffic lights. We receive our member traffic lights, and yet we forget to click on our own name and actually see our own personal action report on how we're going as an individual member. Chapter traffic lights shows us what's happening across the region. Thank you for closed business. I want to route back to that because people forget when or what is closed business. When you receive a referral, you complete the job, you get paid for it. That's when I know Wendy likes to have us enter closed business, right? Easy to have a system around it. You got the money in your hands. It's important that we remember to acknowledge those that have given us that closed business. Otherwise, sometimes people might forget to do it again. But these 8 core foundation blocks are really an ongoing core education process for every chapter.
Yeah. Another idea that Andrew is really a strong proponent of is the education coordinator might want to propose a podcast that you might listen to, and that everybody in the chapter might listen to that podcast in preparation for a 3-minute education moment. It would be your CEUs for that point if you did it, and it would enable you to sharpen the saw. I'm sorry, but I read that 7 Habits to Highly Effective People, and one of them is sharpen the saw, and I always talk about it, but it's just important. And it may seem repetitive, some of these things. So the education coordinator might ask you to present on how did you bring 5 visitors last month? And you could explain your story about how you did that, or something that you did differently. So the education coordinator isn't always going to be the one delivering the information, but there is so much information that the repetition is going to help with this. And I just wanted to let you know that sometimes the education coordinator might ask you to listen to a podcast or watch a video, and they might ask their director to do something. And like what we're doing now, the Diamond program is created to lift the chapters. And so this education is one that we've added in order to help everybody be on the same page.
There's another thing too to add as well, just before we jump onto homework very quickly. In the chapter success meetings, one of the reasons we love having the education coordinator present is they get to hear what's happening in the chapter and what's planned. There could be a visitor event planned for a particular tradie group or contact sphere, etc. And the education coordinator can then actually focus some of the education moments on those particular events as well and develop that schedule for the chapter. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you. So in that spirit, there are 2 recordings that we would love for you to listen to at your leisure. One is called Learn More to Earn More. It's about education. and one is about who's in your room. The who's in your room is going to help us with next week and our presentation for next week. I'm going to send you the links to these in an email, but I definitely want you to be able to pull them off here if you want to on the on your phones. They are just audios, and so you can just listen to them if you want to. All right. Thanks, Justin. And that is the homework. Now, before we depart, I would love to stop the share and get you guys to give us a little bit of feedback about what happened today. So I'll just go around the room and I'll start. Haley, would you like to share with us something that you took from today?
Yeah, there's a few things I'd love to take back to our chapter. The one important thing is the greeting, actually, because we've moved our greeting, like we want the visitors to come into our room there at the Harbor Diggers.
Yeah.
Where I think it's really important that we have a presence right there at the door, and maybe not even get them into that room, get them into that lovely view out the front to network and do it there. So there'll be definitely sort of little points like that I'll take back to the group and our visitor host committee. Yeah.
If the diggers will allow you to have your reception table out where you've got your banner,
yeah,
that would be good. And then you can take them out to that view and then bring them into the room.
Yeah.
I see that working really well, but I love the reception being there, not just two people hanging out and pointing.
Yeah.
But the reception and getting the name tags on before they go over.
Yeah, definitely.
Great idea. Great idea. Emma.
Just we've still got a lot to do.
Pick one thing.
Nothing. Oh God. People, more members turning up would probably be the one thing. Yeah.
Members turning up on time or turning up at all?
No, I mean turning up to this.
Oh, okay. Well, we did say that we'd record it. And so, but Emma brings up a good point. I wonder how many of you are thinking, I wish everybody could hear this. I would be thinking that. I wish everybody in the chapter could hear this. Well, that's why I would love for everybody in your chapter to watch the recording. It's why we're recording it. So you can have better conversations if everybody's listened to it. So Emma, you're in the enviable position of having your meeting tomorrow so that you can tell people about the fact that if you all participate in this, it will make a big difference to the way the chapter runs.
Education moment.
Yeah. And you can have conversations about what we're teaching each week over the next 4 weeks after the meeting. So that'll work really well. But if you had your meeting on today or on Wednesday, like Lucienne had hers this morning and so did Ed, your meetings this morning, you could send out an email and say, listen, we did it. Here's Wendy's already sent you the link to it. Make, on your WhatsApp channel, you could say, listen, it's really important that we all do this so that we all can really talk about it from the same perspective. Yes, we've gone back to basics. Yes, you've heard this before, but imagine the power if all of you have heard it all in the same time and are discussing it. So, Ed.
Yeah, so just going back to the one-to-ones at Pittwater Professionals, we've had a focus the last 6 weeks on doing our one-to-ones using the gain sheet.
Yeah.
And I think the key thing to that in treating it like a business meeting is having a takeaway from it, something, an actionable item, be it, who can I refer you to, who can I bring that's going to meet you, that kind of thing. Because I think too often you have those coffee catch-ups and go, oh, that was great, thanks very much, and nothing happens.
I love it.
No call.
Having that actionable item has made a huge difference in our chapter.
And Andrew putting his money on the table of $100 excited them all.
Didn't that what?
Andrew, are you bribing people? I like
Yeah.
that.
No incentive program for somebody to have a nice bottle of red.
Oh, okay.
Well, Helen won it, Andrew.
Helen, who's one of our newest members, she did 19 one-to-ones in 6 weeks using the gain sheet.
There you go. Brilliant.
That's amazing. I love that. All right,
And-
Allison, how about, oh, I'm sorry, Ed, are you done?
No, I'm swaffling.
Good, Allison.
So shout out to Ed as our education coordinator. He has sent out some podcasts that we should all listen to. And I love that because it's just getting us all to be, you know, united and listening to the same thing. I just hope everyone's doing it, Ed. So one of the takeaways for me is, I can't wait till our chapter success meeting next Thursday. I'll be sending a few agenda items and just really simple things like when we're at the front door at the registration table, just being more mindful of that first impression when people come in. I really want it to be nice and tidy and organised, and just being aware of badges. Like you know, you're looking at people as they're coming in, and now I'm going to make sure that every member has their badge on.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed going back to basics today.
Good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Stephen, how about you?
I'd like to share thoughts to the members and ask them to watch the recordings and make an effort to work as a team, divide and conquer. We've come a long way to where we were 12 months ago. We just want to take the chapter to the next level, and it requires participation from everyone.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it really does.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lucienne.
I think, to be honest, I think we're doing a really lovely job, and I think we're just working on the finesse.
Yep.
I think Alison has really stepped up to the plate. I think Helen is a wonderful contributing member. Len has stepped up to the plate. Sean has absolutely stepped up to the plate, and so I just think we're on the brink of really
Greatness.
having a terrific chapter.
Fantastic. And I do too. I actually think that about all the chapters. I really, really think that getting everybody on this same page is going to make a huge difference. And I appreciate that, Lucienne, because I really do think Pittwater Professionals is on the brink. Business Express is also, you know what, Business Express, I went and did a presentation for them, and at first they were like, well, I'm not sure we need it. And yet they have so many people registered, like the whole chapter sort of said, okay, I'm registering for it. And I really do think that it'll get everybody on the same page. In some chapters, there are few people doing a lot of work. In some chapters, there are a few people doing a lot of the work, and they're basically holding the chapter up. Without them, the chapter will go. And that we can't have. That it doesn't work. We've got to have the entire chapter committed. That commitment word is got to be there. And that's why, I mean, we have the traffic lights. We don't want anybody in red. We don't want anybody I don't want anybody at 70 points. I want everybody at 100. Because it means everybody's doing what they said they would do on the application form if they do 100. So I would really just love to help make sure that it's not only a few people doing what we need to get done. Finlay, how about you?
Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of things have already been said, but I think one thing that I sort of thought about while people were bringing things up is that while our chapter is friendly, I think we could probably have more of a team effort when visitors come in, more of a team approach. Sometimes I think it's often the same people that are really friendly and open to visitors and want to talk, but I think the more kind of exposure to different members that a visitor has, the more sort of interesting it is for them, I think, and the more that they would want to come back.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though our group's friendly, I think it's nice to just have a bit more of a team effort.
I love it. You know, one of my personal rules is never leave a visitor alone, and always make the visitor a priority during the open networking rather than a member. So if I find myself talking to a member and there's a visitor, even if the visitor is talking to someone else, I'd really like to meet them, and go and have a chat with them. I love it. Thank you, Finlay. Alex, how about you? Everybody's moved around too. If I call on you twice, it's my bad.
That's okay. So yeah, Stephen just hop off. And so I just wanted to give credit to Stephen for the Business Express growth. And he put come up so many ideas. And one of the ideas maybe other chapters could borrow or maybe to share as well. So so it's like he and the team and the committee team come up with a game where we have a point system where we if we wear badges, how we divide it into 4 different teams, and then have a game between the teams and see who got the most points, and the points including how many visitors you bring in, how many whether you wear badges, whether you are doing your one-on-one, whether so there's so many different criteria, which is to get everybody involved. So and then who's the winning team, and we'll do something about the winning team and so on and so forth. So I think that just really get everybody involved in these inviting visitors and also doing the one-on-ones and referrals and you know, doing the basic that we cover in this training. So what I would take back from this training is really going back to the POW groups. And I think with the POW group training I did before, and also the visitors host training and this training, so many trainings together. And I think it's probably take that back to build up the POW group. I think that will be really powerful for our chapter.
Nice. I love it. Thank you so much, Alex. I think it will help too.
I think,
Brad.
Alex, just before we jump on, sorry to jump in there, Wendy, but
Yeah.
Alex, what you talked about is the BNI game, and I think that's maybe something all of the chapters, even post all of this, all run the BNI game between now and November. And
Yeah, that'd be
there's a whole structure around that, so we can do that.
That would be a really smart thing. Maybe we'll incorporate that into one of the weeks so we can share it and talk about what you guys are doing in Business Express. Yeah. Annette, while you're there, what will you take away from today?
So my takeaway from today is the chapters that I look after, those who aren't here, will be managed through the MC to listen to the recordings.
Nice, nice. We'll try and make it all really effective for them, I promise. Len, how about you?
Here we go. Probably the BNI Connect profile, being the Secretary Treasurer, to try and introduce the people in their presentations. It's
good point.
You look for something to actually
if you haven't got a bio, where do you turn?
Yeah, where do you turn to? So everyone seems to have one. There's a few that have been around for a little while that could be spruced up a little bit and just reinvent yourself to make that a little bit more pizzazz. But yeah, I think that's just a little thing within the chapter. And as Lucian said, the whole chapter has just stepped up, and especially even Annette has just gone above and beyond and everything. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
So one of the things I'd like you all to think about is we are going to have a leadership changeover come soon. And that's an opportunity for some people who've been in their roles for a while to step down and to bring other people into them. And for people who haven't been in roles to step into them. And so, yes, Annette's been amazing. And Annette's been in that role for, I think, over a year now. And so we're going to need to make sure that we've got this rhythm so that when September moves to October, that we don't lose the momentum that we're going to be gaining now. And so that comes from having a really good transition plan and making sure that the current vice president lets the incoming vice president shadow them and figure out what they do, and that we don't drop things as we go. Alex quickly and then Brad.
Oh, I just let Brad go because my one is just a question.
Okay, Brad, let's get your feedback and then I'll make sure I've touched everybody. Yeah.
And I think Lucy Ann's got a hand up as well. Oh,
Okay.
she might have gone. I get the benefit of just saying ditto to, lots, everyone else has kind of said some really good things. So I think the one that stands out for me, I certainly think the one-on-ones. I think we're in stage 2 or phase 2, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nearly like a checklist of some fundamental things that we need to be consistent. And we've got some great people and some great energy in the room, but I think we still got a little bit of a way to go.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're not launched yet, so don't worry. But I'm really glad you're here and I'm really
Absolutely.
glad that you can get the word out about it. Have I missed anybody? Brad, Brian, sorry, you're writing under Brad. People keep moving when people leave.
Yeah, I thought excuse me, the Zoom today would be the deep dark secrets of BNI. But what I realised is it's all about doing the little things right. So having been in BNI 6 years, I learned a lot today about just go back to the basics and do that
That's the
basic.
secret to BNI.
Yeah, and totally unexpected, I've got to say. I thought there'd be something different today, but that's I'm kind of laughing at myself thinking just do the basics every time, every day. Yeah, that's what I'll take back.
Honestly,
Nice work, Brian.
when I go and do MSP myself, I'll pull something else out from it and say, oh, I'm not doing that well enough. I can fix that.
That's exactly right. Yep.
12 years I've been in BNI and you think I know everything. I probably have heard everything, but I'm not doing everything. And that's what this training can help. See, for those of you who are still listening to the recording, it's not about knowing what you need to do. It's about doing what you know you need to do. And that's the difference. That's what the Diamond program's about. It's about polishing the diamond. The diamond's there. We know what needs to be done. It's about helping everybody to get that done. And so, Brian, thank you for sharing that. Alex, let's ask that question and then let's go ahead and call it a day.
All right, cool. We'll be quick. So just a quick question on the bio. So the bio will say your children or a husband or the names and the things and all that. So I fill out everything else, but I just didn't fill out the bio because I don't want it to like everybody know about that, but just like for the children protections or that. So but I fill out my games, I fill out anything to do with business, and I'm just wondering if that it's okay.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If you it's 100% fine. You can fill in the parts of it that you think are going to help add credibility to your business. And if you want to keep other things private, please do.